This reminds me of broadcasting lab in college.
Yeah.
Where, we would sit in front of microphones and say things like, have you tried Cheese Whiz, Kraft's exciting pasteurized processed cheese spread? It's creamy, thick, and smooth just as it comes from the jar. Go to your local grocer and pick up a jar of Cheese Whiz today.
That's the opening. I was waiting for it. That's it.
All right, there we go.
Let's get started.
Let's rock and roll.
This is episode 8. I'm going to talk to this camera right here. Like how you looked up. You're used to all this, though.
2 camera shot.
That's
camera
right.
1, camera 2.
Camera 1. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Beyond the Cove. Welcome, Pastor Jonathan.
Man, it is great to be here.
I'm so glad
I was
you're here.
wondering when you were going to invite me to the hot seat. Here I am.
That's it. That's hot seat, and we're about to have a hot take. So
Let's
get
do
ready
it.
for that.
Let's do it.
Hey, if this is your first time joining us, welcome to Beyond the Cove, episode 8. We've had some really cool episodes, and probably my favorite one was the last one with Alejandro in Italy. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that here in just a second, but I want to introduce you and tell us what you do here and how long you've been here.
Oh, wow. Okay, sure. Jonathan Wilson. I'm the pastor of missional outreach here at Fruit Cove Baptist Church, going into my 10th year.
Wow.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
But what that means is anything locally, nationally, globally related to missions, that is my team, the missional outreach team. And then also we have communications as a part of that team. So just means something new and different every day.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, man, that really drew me to this church was the missional outreach. So you're doing a fantastic job. And I love being able to be a part of going on mission already. And it's only been 6 months. So thank you for all you do. How many teams do we have going to different places in the world this year? What are we looking at?
Yeah, right now the count is 24.
Wow.
And so we actually have 2 teams out this week. One heading to Africa, the other to Southeast Asia. We got a couple of spring break trips coming up with our students, and a summer full of opportunities for people to serve.
That's great. How can they get involved? What's the first step? I asked Alessandro that for somebody that has never been on mission, what would you say would be the first step? I loved his answer. And he talked about being fat for Christ, which was really cool. I'd never heard that.
It's very Italian, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. I've never heard that before. What would you say would be a good first missions opportunity for somebody that's never been?
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of local opportunities. And so often when we talk about being on mission or going on mission, it's easy to kind of just automatically default to a mission trip, whether that's to Africa or to Europe or to South America. And those count, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But for someone who hasn't been involved yet and really just looking to take that initial step, we have a lot of things they can do locally through their connect groups as individuals or families. And so I would encourage people to find out what are some of those local opportunities they can do now. Don't wait until you have to raise a lot of money and, that opportunity is next year. I believe the Lord has some great opportunities for us to be involved with right here and right now.
Love that. Pastor Jonathan, what is your hot take for today? And again, a hot take, if for somebody that doesn't know, it's just some random soapbox that you're on right now for no reason, but it's on your mind and you want to share with the world.
Well, for those who know me, hopefully you know that I love Jesus, but I also love sports. And so I'll begin to stand on this soapbox 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah. The greatest sporting event known to mankind kicks off. Yeah. It's known as March Madness. It's
there you go.
NCAA basketball tournament time. And I've loved March Madness since high school and college days. It goes back to when the University of Richmond, which was not too far from where I grew up, they were in the first round. They played Syracuse, Cole Fieldhouse
Okay.
at University of Maryland, and number 15 seed Richmond upset the number 2 seed Orangeman of Syracuse.
Very
First
cool.
time that's ever happened.
Very cool.
Now, I think that's happened 10 times since then.
Yeah.
And a 16 has beaten a 1 twice, but that was the very first time in the history of the tournament. 15, David rose up and beat a 2 Goliath. And I just love the fact that any given tournament game, the little guy can come out victorious. And so I love college basketball.
I love college sports just in general because of that.
Yeah.
So what is your team? Who is your team? If you had to choose.
Well, again, for those who know me, one of my nicknames is Teams. I grew up all around the country. My dad was a pastor, still is a pastor. And so that meant we lived in places like Texas and Wyoming and West Virginia and Virginia, and then later Georgia and now Florida. And so I kind of call it my random fandom. My pro teams are everything, Dallas-Fort Worth. So Cowboys, Mavericks, Rangers, Stars. But then college teams, everything from the Wyoming Cowboys to Virginia Tech, Georgia Bulldogs, but the Liberty Flames. That's where I went.
That's good.
The mighty Liberty University.
There you go.
They've been pretty good recently in football, and they just had a streak. I think 16 games in a row. Basketball just ended last week.
That's cool.
Hopefully they'll get hot again leading into the tournament.
I love that.
Go Flames.
Good job. That's a good hot take. So here's my hot take for you. Okay, ready? Are boneless wings considered chicken nuggets?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's no question about
No
that.
question.
Yeah, and they're bad chicken nuggets.
Right.
Boneless wings are actually the chicken nuggets that get thrown out in the assembly line.
Man.
And people are like, what can we do with the not chicken nuggets? Some manager comes in and says, hey, I have an idea. What if we market them
Oh my gosh.
as boneless wings?
Yeah.
Thus, boneless wings were born.
Which are better, bone-in wings or boneless?
Bone in.
Okay.
Absolutely. Lemon pepper, dry rub.
Okay. So the reason why I brought this up, I heard on the radio the other day, a federal judge in Illinois dismissed a lawsuit against Buffalo Wild Wings, ruling that boneless wings are not deceivingly marketed as chicken nuggets, even though I think they are chicken nuggets for adults. So if you love boneless wings, you're just eating chicken nuggets for adults.
Bad chicken nuggets.
I do love Buffalo Wild Wings, though. That's a good place. Okay. What's your funny or embarrassing moment? This is just a little segment for people to get to know you.
Okay.
Funny or embarrassing moment. It can be in ministry. It could just be in life in general. And I've asked around, and I try to do my research. Nobody says you have an embarrassing moment here on staff. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So tell us, spill the beans, man.
Yeah. Well, since we got a worship pastor in the room, a little inside baseball information
That's right.
For people. At the end of a worship service, sometimes there's a little unknown gap, tension between the very last song and the pastor who's closing the service, right?
Right.
And so I can remember it wasn't it's happened here at Fruit Cove, but the very first time this happened to me, being on staff, it was very embarrassing. I was coming onto the platform to do that close, final takeaways and the closing prayer. And I knew the song was over, right? Well, I step in, I got my mic, but I don't know what you guys call it. Is it like a hook or just extending the song?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this would have been my friend Jason Solly. He was I think he did this on purpose to me, right? And so Solly just kind of continued that song, and I was caught there in front of the world to see. But you know what I did? I just picked up my mic and just lip sync like I was part of the worship team.
Oh, man.
I tried to play it off. I think most people saw me trying to play it off. But just know that moving forward, man, that's always
good.
in the back of my mind, because that has happened several times.
That's really good.
Where, okay, I think the song is over, but no, it's not. So that's kind of during the worship service. There's one other thing that came to my mind too, and it's church related.
Yeah.
when I was on staff at Alpharetta First Baptist Church, we were hosting Chan Gailey. And Chan now is a retired football coach. He coached in college and NFL. And at the time, he was between jobs. He had just stepped down from the Buffalo Bills as their head coach. And he, like a year later, would go to coach with the Jets. But we had Chan in just to talk about what it meant to be a Christian leader, a Christian coach. And so I had the opportunity to show him around the church. It was a thing called Lunch and Learn, where people, they brought their lunch, and then we had a guest speaker for them. We did it once a month. And so, you've been in my office, and normally the joke is the first visit is free, but after that, we had to charge admission because it's kind of a museum.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's got a lot of collections in there. It was like that in Alpharetta too. And I can remember showing Chan around my office, showing some pictures and telling some stories. And I could see him, he just kind of started looking at two things. One was a picture of the Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers, the last Super Bowl that the Cowboys won. And the other was a framed picture of Virginia Tech, Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. And I said, I just asked him what he was looking at, and here's the deal. This is where it got embarrassing. The Cowboys-Steelers picture, he was the quarterback's coach for the Steelers. And so he didn't like that picture because his team lost. Yeah. And the Virginia Tech framed picture, which is in my office now, that was when Virginia Tech beat Georgia Tech 55-7. Wow. And Chan was a head coach.
Oh, no.
So if you look on the sideline, you can see him right there. And he's like, Jonathan, man, I don't like that picture.
Can you take it down?
So I really was kind of embarrassed, but I tell you, he gave me a lot of grace. And he said, Jonathan, we're in the same business. Yeah. God has given me a platform to lead men through football into a loving relationship with him. And you as a pastor, you have that same assignment. It's the same job, just different platforms.
That's really cool.
Embarrassing, but redemptive.
That's really cool. Those are good stories. Talk to us about, we had a busy weekend. Yeah. We had the conference there, and the Declare No More Orphans event. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about those, and it's just so cool to see our church, for one, on mission, because that's kind of local mission right there. Right. And you were a part of really both of those, but talk about Declare No More and maybe some events that the missions team is doing.
Yeah. Well, it was a great weekend here at Fruit Cove. Friday, Saturday, Sunday had a ton of people on campus. Yeah. Seemed like every hour, on the hour. A lot of people from around the city, a lot of people from other churches or some from no churches came to be a part of those events. And let me just brag on the missional outreach team a little bit. This is our team. Again, anything local, national, global. So the No More Orphans event, that was Karen and the Fostering Hope team. Yeah. And for those of you who know Karen, she is always working to advocate foster care and adoption, and working hard to mobilize people to serve in those areas. And so last night was just a big moment, and it was just so fun to see the pavilion packed with opportunities for people to serve, take those next steps. And, we also have sports life. This is a big week in sports life in the fact that Upward Basketball wraps up, and we'll have our end of year celebration on Sunday night. And so I really want to give props to Neil and Josh and their key volunteers for another great season. Years ago, this church said, we want to use sports to impact this community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And it's still going strong. And, cool. Another marquee community ministry is our care and counseling through the Cove. And Doug is working hard in coming months. Our people will hear about some other opportunities where they can serve, they can engage with that ministry. And then, hey, since we're communicating, let me mention communications. That's Brad and Crystal. Yeah. And just one fun thing there, the welcome videos on Sundays.
I love those.
They've become must-see TV, haven't they?
The parachuting in last week was awesome.
Yeah. So they're having fun doing that. But again, we see communications as a way to engage not only our church community, but the community as a whole. Yeah. And it's an opportunity to share the love of Christ.
I heard on a podcast recently that if you don't have an online presence as a church, people are missing the front door to your church. Yeah. Man, that's kind of a shift in the way that, 50, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, we thought about church. And talk to us about communications and how that's so important.
The amazing thing is we live in a day and time where we have so many great communication tools.
Yeah.
And those tools are sharpening and changing, on a regular basis. The challenging thing is that we live in a day and a time where we have so many great communication tools.
Right.
Because what we find is not everybody communicates the same way. Some people will communicate via email, but maybe they don't communicate well with text. Mm-hmm. And so maybe someone communicates well with texting, but somebody doesn't communicate by going to a website. And so basically for our team, we have to try to communicate in a variety of ways across the board.
And that's so hard to do.
It is.
It's very challenging.
But again, we just challenge ourselves, to try to make sure we get the message out to the people that we need to. And, it's fun being creative. And, I as a student at Liberty University, I heard a guest speaker. He said this one day in class. He said, the essence of creativity is the ability to copy and adapt. And what that means is there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
And so we're always looking, okay, what are other churches, what are other Christian organizations doing to communicate well? What can we learn from them, copy and adapt that to what Fruit Cove is doing?
It's really cool. I want to go into this next part. Obviously, Pastor Heath's not here. He's on a trip with Compassion International. And he said, hey, make sure and talk about the sermon. So we're going to talk about the sermon, do a little recap. Sunday was good. And again, it was so good because there were so many things that happened. There was a young man that wants to get baptized. There was a couple that came that wants to join the church. That's incredible, but the sermon was great. So let's talk about the sermon. And it really talks about if we're treated unfairly and how we suffer. So one of the questions that came up through kind of just looking over the sermon notes, how do we live holy lives when we're treated unfairly? So what would you say to that question?
That's a hard question.
It is.
Just even looking over my notes from yesterday as I put my old man glasses on. I felt this yesterday and I still feel it today, just being transparent. I think I unfortunately identify with Peter more than Jesus so many times because I have always had this sense of justice. I want things to be done right. And when I see somebody or something done wrong, I want to make sure, hey, that needs to be corrected. Yeah. But Jesus, he taught, now he's a God of justice, don't get me wrong. Sure. But, in this passage, we really see a different way, to approach that. And, I just, some of the things I wrote down from yesterday, from Luke 9, your calling into the Christian life is a calling into a life of suffering. Mm-hmm. I think that might have been one that Pastor Heath was like, hey, you don't see that on the marquee.
Yeah, you don't see
in front of the church. But Christ died so you could live for righteousness. Even though suffering is part of the Christian life, it will not be forever. And that's something that we can look forward to, hang our hat on. It was kind of one of those messages that, I don't know, kind of hit you in the face, right?
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, it's one that you don't hear a lot.
Yeah. It's probably not popular.
Yeah.
And so most pastors probably wouldn't preach on that.
Skip over that part.
Yeah. Skip over it. And that's what I love about our church, and that we don't skip away from the hard parts. We embrace that. And I think that's what Christ wants us to do, is to kind of lean in to that. Let's talk about the Peter contrast, Jesus's view versus Peter's view. I think this is one of the best angles from the sermon. Jesus did not insult in return when he was insulted. He did not retaliate when he was treated unfairly. Jesus trusted the Father. And then on the other hand, you have Peter, who denied Jesus. And then Peter swung the sword. And then Peter struggled with forgiveness. I love the contrast there. Even though Peter was one of Jesus's disciples and he was walking alongside with Jesus, how can we take something away from that? And you may not, I'm asking all these questions, but how can we take something away from that, even though Peter was Jesus' right-hand man and he was always there with him? What can we take away from that? I think for me, knowing that somebody that walks with Christ is not going to get it right all the time, right? We always mess up. We're human. And Christ he never sinned. And so what was your takeaway from that kind of contrast from Peter to Jesus, and what we can learn in that?
One of the things I sat thinking through yesterday, and even now, and I know the sufferings that we were looking at yesterday were a little different than what I'm about to share, but it's one of those things where God's word is alive, is active, and I believe God had just a reminder for me, even in this passage yesterday. And it's related to my sister, who passed away almost 2 years ago.
Wow.
She had breast cancer.
Wow.
And so she was 3 years younger than me, and always grew up saying that, she was so proud to be John Wilson's sister. I went by John in high school.
Yeah.
But I sit here today, and just share with the world that I'm so proud to be Lori Wilson Gott's older brother, because she taught me so much those last few years. Wow. The day she shared with me that she had breast cancer, she said, Jonathan, I'm not going to focus on the mountains ahead, the obstacles. I'm going to focus on the maker of the mountains.
Praise God.
And that's what she did. And so the verse that popped into my mind, when I think about Peter and what Jesus was trying to teach in this situation, ultimately it's peace, right?
Yeah.
It's, I come so that you may have peace. And there's a passage in Isaiah, particularly verse 3 of chapter 26. God's word says, you will keep the mind that is dependent on you in perfect peace, for it is trusting in you. And that was my sister's theme verse. She had a tagline that said, no matter what happens, I'm going to seek the peace that only Jesus can offer. And so that was a real life tie-in for me as Heath was preaching from the First Peter text, and God just reminded me, of the perfect peace that can only come through Jesus. And we don't understand it. This is so against what the world would tell us in our fleshly desires, but Jesus set the example, and it's one we can try to follow.
It's beautiful. I think for me too is not having to retaliate.
Yes,
if you've been done wrong to, or not getting revenge, and that's so opposite of what the world does. If you've been doing wrong, go do them even more wrong. Right. Or if you've been insulted, insult them bigger. So I love that. That's a hard text to go through, and I think a lot of people resonated with that. And I'm glad we're going over this. Jonathan, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your missional heart, your outreach locally, internationally. Is there anything else you want to bring up, or as we close here, we've got just a couple more minutes, that you would want the church body to know, or for somebody that's not been to our church and they're hearing this?
Yeah. A couple of jumping off points. Man, this is a great church.
It is.
And I God calls us to places of service, but I really felt drawn to Fruit Cove because of its reputation in the Southern Baptist Convention, before I got here, and Pastor Tim, and just the man he is. He's a leader of leaders and a godly man. And, the Lord was so good. He's let me be a part of it. Yeah. And so I just tell my friends, man, I'm hanging on for the ride. It's a great ride, and it's a great church to be a part of. we're doing some other things locally. In coming days here pretty soon, we'll be able to reveal how much money we're going to give the St. Johns County school district
really
to help alleviate some school lunch debts for families. And this is something we did a couple years ago, but it was a news story broke a couple weeks ago. Over $220,000 families owe our schools because of lunch debt. And about 25% of that is tied to schools in our part of the county. St. Johns County is a big county, but we're going to try to pay off as many of those debts as we can because we want families to know that they are loved, and we love them because He first loved us.
Amen.
And that's something that we can do is just offset some of the financial burdens that our families have. And so being part of a church that takes on issues, real life issues like that, it's a great church to be a part of. And I would just say, get involved.
Yeah.
If you are here at Fruit Cove and you have not jumped into a connect group, or you have not jumped into a place of service on a regular basis, then jump in. And if you're not part of Fruit Cove, find a church wherever you're at, jump in and be a part of what the Lord is doing in and through your local body of believers called the church. That is God's plan A for the redemption and salvation of mankind. There is no plan B.
Come on, man. Preaching here. I love it. Jonathan, thank you. This has been great. If you would like any more information about how to get involved with us here at the church, or taking the next step, taking a mission trip, or doing something here locally, find it on our website. Go into the missions tab. Again, this was episode 8. Hey, make sure you like, subscribe, or follow wherever you're watching this. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, wherever that might be. We'd love to interact with you, and you can ask us any kind of question. Ask Pastor Jonathan any kind of question, or Pastor Heath. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.